Hi everyone, welcome to SAP BW online tutorials. In this first video, I'm going to talk about introduction to ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning, SAP and SAP BW Business Warehouse. In this session, we are going to cover the topics that we are going to cover in this part of SAP BW course. So the first chapter is going to be introduction to SAP, data warehousing, and when SAP BW has started, like evaluation of SAP BW. And then the second chapter comes like where we are going to give an overview about SAP NetWeaver BW. So in this chapter we'll cover what is the architecture of BW and how data flows in SAP BW, what are the different layers or we have in BW, and the first steps in BW. It's going to be like hello world kind of thing where we'll explain the basic navigation steps in BW. And as part of BW, like one of the main feature is we'll get a lot of business content delivered as part of SAP BW. So in this chapter we'll see how to use that business content. That means how to activate the business content in SAP BW. Third chapter is about info objects. So in this chapter we'll cover what is info object and how many types of info objects we have, and how to create info object in BW, what are the different properties we have for info object, and how to activate info object and how to use info object in different scenarios. Chapter 4 is going to be about DSOs, data store objects, which is a two-dimensional object in BW and which uses for data staging purpose. So we'll see introduction about DSO, how many types of DSOs are there in BW and how to create DSOs in SAP BW. Then in the next chapter, which is fifth chapter, we'll look into InfoCubes. So InfoCube is a multi-dimensional object which is built based on extended star schema. So as part of this chapter we'll also cover what is star schema, what is extended star schema, and how extended star schema looks, and how to create InfoCube in SAP BW. Then what are the dimensions, what is dimension, what is fact table, and what is compression table in InfoCube, and what are the advanced properties that we have in InfoCube. The next chapter, which is chapter 6, is about info providers. So apart from DSO and InfoCube, we have a lot of other info providers in BW. So we'll talk about those info providers in chapter 6. So those are like multi-providers, how to create multi-providers, and info sets, and SPO, semantic partition objects, hybrid providers, transient providers, and composite provider. So these are all a new type of info providers in BW 7.3. So we'll talk about each and every one in info providers chapter in detail, and we'll also see how to create each info provider. Then comes chapter 7, which is about ETL process. So ETL stands for extraction, transformation, and logic, where we'll take an example of a flat files which contains both master data and transaction data, and in this chapter we are going to look at how to load data from flat files to BW. So when we say BW, we'll see how to load till InfoCube level. So first we'll create a data source. We'll show you how to create data source, what is data source. Then We'll show you how to create info package and how to load data from flat files to data source using info package. Then we are going to create DTP, data transfer process, which is used to load data in BW from any object to any object. That means it can be data source to DSO, or it can be DSO to InfoCube, or it can be DSO to DSO, or it can be InfoCube to InfoCube. So in all these scenarios, we are going to use data transfer process DTP to load data. Whereas only in the first stage where we are going to load data from source to BW, that means source to data source, we'll use info package. Then we'll also talk about transformations in this chapter, where we are going to map source fields and target fields, in which we can do one-to-one mapping, or we can write our own formulas, or we can write our own logic in transformation. So that is where routines comes into picture, where we can write our logic using ABAP language. So we'll also see how many types of routines we have in BW, and what is the use of each routine, and when to use which routine. Then we'll see like how to load data from DSO to InfoCube using DTP, and how to load data from data source to master data objects, which are nothing but info objects, using data transfer process. The next chapter is about data extraction from different source systems, which is 8th chapter. So when we say data extraction from different source systems, in this chapter we are not going to talk about flat files as a source system. We'll talk about SAP and non-SAP as source systems. So we'll see how to load data from SAP ECC to BW system using standard extractors. So we have lot of standard extractors available in BW and ECC. So we are going to see how to activate those standard extractors, on how to load data for those standard extractors from ECC to BW system. And we'll also see if for any of our requirement, if we don't have standard extractor available or standard data source available, we're going to see how to create a customized extractor, which is nothing but generic data source in ECC system, and what are the different ways we have to create generic data source, and how to load data for generic data source. Then at the end, we'll also see how to load data from non-SAP source systems like Oracle database or MySQL database or a DB6 database using UD Connect and DB Connect. Okay, DB Connect is nothing but database connect, and UD Connect is nothing but universal data connect. So using these two methods, we'll see how to load data from non-SAP system. That is as part of chapter 8. Then with this, we are going to end with modeling and data loading part. That means by the end of this chapter 8, we'll have all our modeling objects with data available in BW. That means at final, we are going to have an InfoCube which contains all our transaction data and master data in BW system. So once we have data available in InfoCube in SAP BW system, the next step is going to be how to create reports on top of InfoCube or info provider, because at the end of the day, reports are going to be deliverables to the user, because user can only access reports and perform their analysis. They cannot log into BW, open InfoCube to see the data. So from chapter 9, it's all going to be how to create reports. So we have called a BEX tools or BEX suite as part of BW. So this BEX suite contains 3 tools. It has Query Designer, BEX Analyzer, and WAD, Web Application Designer. So in chapter 9, we are going to look at BEX Query Designer. So we'll see how to create a simple query using BEX Query Designer on top of InfoCube. Then We have a lot of great features or additional functionalities or advanced functionalities in Query Designer. Those are like how to use OLAP variables and how to create filters, how to create structures, how to put selections, or how to create formulas in Query Designer, and then how to create restricted key figures, how to create calculated key figures, and how to put conditions or how to put exceptions. These are all things we are going to cover as part of chapter 9, which is about Beck's Query Designer. Then in chapter 10, we'll look at what is Beck's Analyzer and what is Report Designer and how to create reports using Report Designer and Beck's Analyzer. Then as part of chapter 11, we are going to cover WAD, Web Application Designer. So we'll see how to create a simple WAD report, which we call it as web template. We'll see how to create a web template using WAD. Then in chapter 12, we are going to look at how to administrate or how to perform administration in your BW system, or how to monitor your BW system. So in this chapter, we'll see how to automate a data loading in BW system by creating process chains. So we'll see how to create process chain, what are the different process types we have in process chains, and we'll also see authorization part. So how to maintain data security in BW using analysis authorizations. Then we'll see some administration related functions like creating aggregates, or how to compress data in InfoCube, or how to activate a data in DSO, and what are the background steps that are going to happen when we do a DSO activation. All those things we will see as part of chapter 12. Then comes chapter 13, where we'll see advanced modeling options. So here you can see a number missing because chapter 12 we have twice. So this is chapter 13, where we look at advanced modeling functionalities, like if you want to expose data or if you want to transfer data from BW to other systems like third-party systems, we can do that using open hubs. So open hub destination, OHD. So we'll see how to create OHD and how to take data from BW to third-party system. It's like it can be a flat file or it can be a other database. So we'll see that. Then the next one is APDs, Analysis Process Designer, which can be used for planning purpose. So we'll see how to create APDs in BW and what is the use case scenario for that. Then in chapter 14, we'll look at SAP BW landscape. Wherever you go, if we talk about SAP, we are going to have a landscape where we'll have a development, quality and production system. So we'll see how to move objects from development to production through quality system, which is nothing but using transportation technique. So we'll see how to create transport request and how to collect objects into transport request. Then how to import a transport request into each and every system. And we'll also talk about what are the common errors that we get when we import transports. Then, so this is about entire BW course or BW course content that we are going to cover. In this session, I'm going to explain the topics that we are going to cover as part of SAP BW powered by HANA. So what are the landscapes that we are going to talk about till now, or we have seen till now in the market, are all built on a traditional database. So when we say traditional database, it's a disk-based database. So when we are performing analysis on the data which is in a disk-based database, it will take a lot of time if we are doing analysis on millions of records. So over the time, as importance for the data is increased, every organization has a lot of data in their data warehousing application. When we say a lot of data, it will be millions to billions. So when we are trying to run a query, or when we are trying to perform analysis on millions or billions of records which has to come from a disk based database, definitely we are going to have a lot of performance issues. So that is where SAP has introduced HANA, which is in-memory database, into the market, wherein we can use HANA as a database to SAP BW applications. So in this chapter, we'll talk about introduction of SAP BW powered by HANA, how to make existing SAP BW application which is running on traditional database to SAP BW powered by HANA. So we'll see what are the different migrating options we have, and when to use which scenario. And we'll also talk about the important programs we need to remember when we have BW on HANA, or when we are migrating a BW system to BW on HANA system. And then we are going to talk about the architecture changes that we are going to get for specific objects in BW system, like InfoCube and data store objects. We'll see how to convert existing or standard InfoCube to in-memory InfoCube, and we'll also see how to convert standard DSO to in-memory DSO. The one additional function or feature we have in BW 7.3 is SPO, semantic partition objects. So we'll also see how to create in-memory semantic partition objects in BW on HANA. Then we are also going to discuss about mixed scenarios, where we'll see how to import InfoCube or DSO into HANA as an analytic view and expose it to reporting tools. And in the same way, we'll see how to import analytic views in HANA to SAP BW as transient provider, and how to create reports in DEX tools. And then at the end, we'll discuss about the landscape that we follow in existing BW applications, which is LSA architecture, layered and scalable architecture. And as we are using SAP BW on HANA, we have to make certain changes to our existing landscape so that we can save our DB size. So as HANA is costly, obviously, which is in-memory database, when we talk about BW applications, the primary thing is we are going to have a lot of data redundancy. Why we are going to have data redundancy is because to improve performance. So what we are doing in BW is we are going to store aggregated data. We'll load detailed level data to BW as a first layer. Then we'll apply transformations based on business requirement, and at the end we'll load aggregated data into final object, which we are going to expose to reporting tools. So what we are doing here, we are storing same kind of data or same data in different places, which causes data redundancy in my system. So with HANA as a database, we don't need to store data in different places, or we don't need aggregated data, because HANA can fetch detailed data to reporting tools within seconds. So that is where we are not going to store aggregated data. So when we are not going to store aggregated data, we need to remove certain objects or certain layers. So that is nothing but LSA++ architecture, layered and scalable ++ architecture, which is customized for SAP BW on HANA. So we'll see what is LSA++ and how are we going to customize LSA into LSA++. So this is the content or topics that we are going to cover as part of SAP BW powered by HANA chapter. In this last chapter, I am going to explain some of the tricks and tips for SAP BW. So in this chapter, I'll explain how to build a landscape for any customer if he's going to, or if he's going for SAP BW, like how many layers we have to take, and what is the object that we have to consider in each layer and which is the best object. So those things we'll cover. And if you're going to work in a support project, we'll also see what are the frequent issues or frequent errors you might get in a support project. Then we'll see the different phases that are included in SAP BW implementation project. We'll see what are the different methodologies we have in the market, and in each methodology what are the phases we have. Then we'll talk about the roles and responsibilities of SAP BW consultant in implementation project as well as support project. Then at the end I'll show you additional resources or some useful information where you can learn SAP BW as well as SAP BW on HANA. So we have SAP community network where you can find a lot of information. So I'll show you the exact location where you can find that information. In this specific chapter, I'm going to explain how we can integrate business objects with BW. Business objects is one of the leading reporting tool in the market right now, and as a first topic we'll look into introduction about business objects and when business objects has started and what are the different reporting tools we have available as part of business objects suite, all those things. And then we'll see how we can integrate or how we can connect all the BO reporting tools to BW system. And from the next topic onwards we'll see about individual reporting tools. So we have a tool called IDT which is used to build a semantic layer. So when we talk about creating semantic layer, we'll see how we can connect a BW using IDT with OLAP connection as well as relational connection. And then we'll see how we can connect web intelligence reporting tool to BW system, and then SAP BO Explorer to BW system. Then we also have a reporting tool called Crystal Reports 2011 and Crystal Reports for Enterprise. So we'll see how we can connect these two reporting tools with BW system and how to access objects in BW system to create sample queries. Then in the next topic we'll see how we can connect analysis office for OLAP as well as analysis for office for MS Office edition to BW system. And at the end we'll see how we can connect dashboards to BW system and how we can build sample dashboards using Dashboard Designer, which is one of the reporting tool in SAP Business Objects. Before I'm going to explain about ERP, or I'm going to give introduction about ERP, just we'll have a quick overview about why we need ERP. Whenever we talk about any organization which is a medium or large scale industry, they will have certain process or they will have a lot of process or functionality in their organization. Let's take an example of manufacturing industry. Manufacturing industry are going to manufacture certain products. So when they want to manufacture products, they need to have a raw material. So whether they might be having raw material or if they don't have certain raw materials, they're going to purchase from different vendors or from other people. Then they will manufacture the product. Once they manufacture the product, they might sell the product directly to the customers or they will store it in a warehouse. Then when they get orders, they will sell that product. So if we look at manufacturing industry, they are going to have buy our raw materials. Then they will start manufacturing the product. store the product in a warehouse. Then sales will happen. Okay, so these are going to be the main areas or the typical areas of a manufacturing industry. Apart from this, when you perform any sales, you need to have a finance department where your entire revenue and profit, everything is going to be recorded. And obviously, when you are running an industry, you need to have human resource or team who is going to maintain your entire faculty. So maybe around 30 or 40 years back, organizations are used to store this entire data in books, so-called ledger books. Okay. When software started its evaluation, people slowly started moving to Excel, where they used to maintain all their records. I mean, along the time, what happened is data has got more importance in the market. Our data has got more importance to improve any organization business. So, if you want to improve your organization business, definitely you need to have a track of what you are doing right now or what you have done from past 1 year or from past 5 years, so that you can analyze your future. So when we talk about tracking your entire organization performance over the years, it's not possible to store everything in an Excel, because Excel also has its own limitations. And when we are going to have these many different functionalities in a single organization, you need to have integrity between each and every functionality. Because let's take an example, same manufacturing industry. Say I've got an order of 1,000 materials or 1,000 products, and I have to deliver it within 1 month. So immediately when I get a requirement, I have to go and manufacture the product. So if I have to manufacture the product, I need to have a raw material. So if I don't have a raw material, I cannot manufacture. So as soon as when you get a order of 1,000 products, immediately same order has to go to a raw material section, where they can check whether raw material is available to manufacture 1,000 products or not. So if the integrity is not there in between different functionalities, then you cannot meet your requirements, which is going to lead to company losses. So that is where in an organization you need to have integrity between all the functionalities, which is nothing but ERP. So in 1990s, ERP term has come out. So ERP is nothing but enterprise resource planning. Okay, it's a process. It's a process of managing all resources and their use in an enterprise or in an organization in a coordinated manner. And it has to support a different functions or different functionalities. Let's say, for example, what we have talked about till now, HRM, human resource management. It should support your human resource management, it should support your sales and distribution, it should support your financials, it should support your material manufacturing, it should support your inventory. Inventory is nothing but warehouse. A simple example why you need integrity between your sales and distribution and financials. When you made a sales order and it has been delivered successfully to the customer, definitely you are going to get money for the invoice you have raised. So when you get a certain money, which is nothing but revenue to your organization, immediately that particular revenue has to be updated to your financials. Okay, so you need to have integration between all the modules, and if it is a manual process, definitely mistakes will happen. So ERP is going to be application, automated application, which is going to have integrity, a strong integrity between all the modules. So we have a lot of ERPs available in the market. So one of the major ERP is SAP. So we have a ERP from SAP, which is nothing but SAP ECC, electronic core component. In the same way, we have ERP from Oracle applications. We have ERP from Siebel. We have ERP from PeopleSoft. We have ERP called JD Edwards. So these are the major ERPs in the market, and one of the best ERP which is available in market is SAP ECC. So we have talked about ERP. Now let's look into SAP. So what is SAP? So basically SAP is a company. So it has started in 1972 by 5 ex-IBM employees in Waldorf, Germany. So the first application of SAP was SAP ERP, which is based on mainframes. So they have released it in 1990s with a name called R1. Okay, and then they have released again with a name called R2. Then they moved application from mainframes to ABAP, their own language, programming language, and they have built entire SAP ERP application based on ABAP. They named it as SAP ECC. So ECC stands for electronic core component. So why SAP ERP, nothing but SAP ECC was most successful in the market? It's majorly because of its integrity. So SAP has a very tight integrity between all the modules. Moreover, when we talk about modules, ECC covers almost 60 to 70 modules. So around all the modules, it has very tight integrity, which leads to a very strong data accuracy in your organization. So at any point of time, you are going to have accurate data in your system. So few modules that are covered in SAP ECC are financial accounting. It has also covered supply chain management, controlling, material management, sales and distribution, logistics, production planning, quality management, plant maintenance, project systems, human resources. It also has sales and deliveries. It has purchasing. It has inventory. So there are a lot of modules. These are the few modules that we have mentioned in the slide. So now we have a system wherein you can store your entire organization data. That means whatever the operations that you are performing in your organization are all captured and stored in a database. SAP ERP ECC is an application which is nothing but it's a software wherein you are going to use this software to manage your operations. At the end of the day, this software need a database to store all your operations as a records. So we are going to have SAP ECC application, electronic core component. Underlying, we are going to have a database. It can be Oracle, it can be IBM DB2, it can be MS SQL, it can be any database, any standard database you can use to store the data that you are going to enter using SAP ECC. Okay, so SAP, I'm going to show you how SAP screen looks. So I'll log into SAP ECC. So this is the first screen when you open any SAP system. So this is where we are going to maintain all SAP systems connection. This is called SAP logon, where we can maintain all your system names. When you double click on a system, it will give you a login screen where you can enter your username, password. So it's all a screen based application. You will have different screens for each requirement or for each operation. Say if you want to create a sales order, you will have a different screen. If you want to create a purchase order, you will have different screen. If you want to create a financial document, or if you want to create an invoice, you will have different screen. And every screen are based on a transaction code, which is called as a T code, transaction code. So for every screen you will have a transaction code. Let's say I want to create a sales order. So in that case, the transaction code to create a sales order is VS01. So if you enter VS01 here and press enter, you will get a screen, sales order creation screen, where you can create a sales order in your organization. So when you get a call from customer saying that I need 1,000 products within a month, then as an employee of your organization, you are going to create a sales order using VS01 transaction in SAP ECC, and you will give that sales order number to the customer as a reference. So when you create a sales order in a system, immediately when purchasing team, so purchasing is nothing but who are going to buy a raw material for manufacturing, to manufacture the products. So when you create a sales order, that immediately will be replicated to purchasing people, who can see how many sales orders we have and what is the quantity of each sales order, so that they can see whether they have a raw material available to create or to manufacture a specific quantity or demanded quantity. So this is the screen where we can create a sales orders. So now we'll move on to our topic. So now I'll also show you one thing, like when you create a sales order. So we are going to create sales order using this screen. So where sales orders are going to store in your a database. So for every operations that we are going to perform in ECC, we'll have a backend tables. So In the database that we have attached with ECC, tables will be created in this database. So in our example, all the sales orders that you are going to create using this screen are stored in a table called VBAK. So T code to create sales order is VA01, and table for sales orders is VBAK. So how can I see the data? So to see any table, the transaction code is SE16, SE16, then press enter. So here we can give a table name. So I'm going to give VBAK and then press enter. If you want to see how many number of sales orders you have in this table, you can use number of entries option. So you have 8K sales orders, and a VBELN is nothing but your sales order number. So if you don't remember your sales order number, you can simply execute, which gives what is the sales order number, when it has been created, by who it has been created, and all the information like what is the quantity of sales order. Everything will be available in this table. So in the same way, for each and every operation that you are going to do, you will have a backend table in which the data is going to store. So now fine, we have screens using which you can perform your operations, and we also have tables where all the data is going to store. That's okay. We are storing our entire organization data. What is the use of storing data? I have to look at a data and analyze it to improve my organization business. So how can I analyze the data? If I have to analyze the data, I have to read data from the table. Okay, so see, customers will be calling to your organization and will ask for orders in the business hours time. At the same time, as a manager, I will also come to office and I want to analyze the data. So at the same time, you are trying to perform a read and write operations on the same table. So if a manager want to perform analysis, or if a manager want to see the sales orders that has been created over a period of 3 months, then system has to read data from VBAK table. In the same way, as an employee, if I have to create a sales order, system has to write a record, or system has to insert a record into VBAK table. So at the same time, I'm trying to perform read and write operations on same table, which creates logs and which create performance backlogs. So if you if you are making customer to wait for 15 or 20 minutes to create a sales order, obviously customer will look for some other person. So it's always good to keep your customer satisfied. So instead of, because of that, the best practice is do not perform a read and write operations on the same table at the same time. So how can I do my analysis? See, manager will not come in non-business hours to perform analysis. So how can I improve my organization business? So that is where data warehousing term has come into market. So by the name itself, we can say data warehousing. So we are going to store data in a warehouse. So we are going to pick all the data from your ECC and put it into some other database where you can perform your analytics. Because when you move all your data to a different database, in that database, there are no writes. There are no write operations. We are going to have only read operations. So that is where data warehousing term has come into picture. And we have a lot of data warehousing applications available in the market. Okay. So you can see a data warehouse is a subject oriented, integrated, time variant and non-volatile collection of data in support of management decision making process. So to allow management to perform their analysis, we are going to store data in a different database. We are going to store all the organization data in a different database from where management can perform their analytics. So the data warehousing applications available from a different vendors are, we have SAP BW, we have Informatica, we have Hyperion, a Data Stage, Cognos and Teradata. One of the most successful data warehousing application is SAP BW. So what is SAP BW? So SAP BW is a complete data warehousing application. So when we talk about complete data warehousing application, it should have three main properties, three main functionalities. It should have ETL capabilities. ETL is nothing but extraction, transformation and loading. So it should be able to extract data from your ECC to a different database, and it should have capability to perform transformations. That means to perform any business logic or additional logic, and it should be able to have modeling capabilities. Then the last one is a reporting capabilities. So SAP BW has all these three functionalities, which makes it as a complete data warehousing solution. So when SAP BW is started, so BW is nothing but business warehouse. So SAP BW has released in 1998. Okay, as a version 1.2. Over the years, it has its name changes from BAW to BW, then BW to BI, and then again BI to BW. So the current version or the latest version of SAP BW is a 7.3, which has released 3 years back. In most of the customers, we'll find BI 7 as well, which is a stabilized version with a lot of features. Okay. Now we'll look at the architecture of BW, or business warehouse. So just now I told, to make it a complete data warehousing solution, it should have three main capabilities, which is extraction, modeling, or reporting. So these SAP BW architecture, wherein we can load data from different sources to BW. So we can load data from ECC, nothing but SAP. We can also load data from different databases like Oracle, Teradata, whatever it may be. And we can also load data from flat files. So if you have any flat file, we can load data to BW. So when we load data to BW, the first object to which we are going to load is a data source. So definitely to load data from one object or one place to other place. So here one place is going to be our source. It can be any of these three, and the other place is our data source in SAP BW. We need to have an object. So the object here we are going to use is info package. So we'll use info package to load data from different source systems to a data source, which is going to be a first layer in BW. From there we'll load data to DSO. data store object, which is two-dimensional object, using data transfer process DTP. Then we load data from DSO to info provider. So info providers are going to be multi-dimensional object which can be which has the functionality to analyze your facts or to analyze your measures or to analyze your numbers. A number can be your quantity, sales quantity, number can be your sales net sales amount, number can be your number of employees in different ways. I want to look at the sales revenue generated in each quarter, or the sales revenue generated by each plant, or the sales revenue generated by each country. So these are different dimensions from where I'm looking at my facts or from where I'm looking at my numbers. So info providers are nothing but multi-dimensional objects. So we load data from DSO to info provider, again using data transfer process. With this we'll complete our modeling part. So once you have info provider available, the next step is going to be creating reports on top of your info providers. So we have a set of reporting tools which comes as part of SAP BW. So those are Query Designer, a Report Designer, and WAD. WAD stands for Web Application Designer. So using any of these three tools, we can create a reports by reading a data from info providers. So this is going to be the architecture of SAP BW. Okay. So in this tutorial we have talked about why we need ERP, what is ERP, and then what is SAP, when SAP has started, and what is the ERP that is available from SAP. Then we have come to why we need data warehousing and the data warehousing applications available in the market, and we have talked about when SAP BW has started and architecture of SAP BW. Now I am going to show you the demo how we can load a data from a flat file to SAP BW. So here we have our source flat file, and I'll show you how to load data from flat file to data source. So we are going to create a data source in BW. We'll create an info package in BW. Then we'll execute info package to load, which loads data from flat file to data source. So I have a data in a flat file which is a customer information. So I'll load that data into a BW. So here I have. So it has customer information like what is my customer number, and then what is the customer group, then this customer group comes under which sales group, then what is the sales district, sales office, then who is the sales employee, then date from and date to. So this date from and date to gives the validity for each customer. Let's say here you can see same customer number has been under sales employee 41 from 2000 Jan to 2008 December. From 2009 Jan, the same customer has come under sales employee 42. So it's like a time dependent data. So now if we look at this data, it's a table structure where I have fields. So these are my fields, and for these fields I have a records here. So how can I represent a fields in my BW system? So now I log into BW system. SAP screens are all looks same. So when we double click on our connection name, which is BW 7.3, which prompts the screen where we have to enter our username and password. So the main transaction code, T code in BW is RSA1, administrative workbench. We can also call that as data warehousing workbench, DWW. So using this specific or using this one particular transaction code, we can do or we can perform 60% of work in BW. So it's always important to remember transaction codes if you are working in SAP. If you are working on any SAP application, it's always important to remember transaction codes. So as I showed you in this slide, we have data in flat file and we want to load data to a data source in BW. So first we need to look at where we have sources here. So we have we have option called source systems here. So if we go to source systems, we can see different source systems that are supported by BW. It supports for DB Connect, UD Connect, it supports for SAP. You can also connect BW as a source to another BW system. And for our requirement, we can see file here. So which is a source for your flat files. So here we have a different source systems already configured here. If you want to use existing source system, you can use. If you want to create a new source system, you can create. So you can right click on this, or you can right click here, then select create. Here system name should be unique. So here we have 3 names, so you have to give another unique name. So I want to give file load. Okay, then you can give any description. Let's say data loading from flat files. Then click on green tick mark to create that. Which is going to create source system. So when we look at data, we have these many fields here. So how we are going to represent fields in BW? So fields in BW are going to represent with info objects. So whatever the fields that we are going to have in our source are going to be created as info objects in BW. Okay, info fields in SAP BW, fields in table are represented as info objects in SAP BW. So we have different kinds of info objects. As we have different types of fields, see, when I say different types of fields, you will be having fields with data type characters. That means fields that are going to store your character information, and fields with numeric data type, fields with date format, fields with decimal format. So in the same way, we have characteristic info object, we have key figure info objects, we have time info objects. So there are different info objects. So right now when we look at our data, we have all the fields that are storing character information. So I'm going to create characteristic info objects. So we'll go to our BW system. So now we can see, right, a source with file load has been created, and now the next step is going to be, you can right click on this, then display data sources. You can see the data sources that are created in this system. So these are the data sources. All the data sources are grouped by application components. Okay, so this symbol shows it's an application component. So the data sources that you are going to create it in BW system are grouped by application component. So when you come to this screen, you can create application component. So we are going to create, right click anywhere here on this any application component, or you can right click on your main area here, then create application component. So I'm going to give AC, stands for application component, then BW training. I'll make same as description, then click on OK. Now we can see our application component. So the next step is creating data source. So before we create our data source, we need to have our characteristics, right? Because we need to have fields. Otherwise, how can we create a data source? So to create a fields, nothing but to create characteristics, which are info objects. So we'll go to info objects option here. Info objects. So here all the info objects are grouped as info area. So these are all the info areas available in this system. We can create our own info area, or you can use existing info area to create your info objects. So I'm going to create a new info area. IA stands for info area, BW training. So I'll give info area for BW training, then click on OK, nothing but green tick mark. So we have BW info area. Once you have info area, we can create info object catalog. So in info objects, we have different types of info objects, right? We have characteristic info objects, we have key figure info objects, we have time info objects, we also have unit info objects. So to classify them again, or to group them again, we can create info object catalog. So we can create info object catalog for characteristics, we can create info object catalog for key figures. So I'll right click on info area and select create info object catalog. So info object catalog, right? So I'll keep it as IOC, info object catalog characters. So I'll write here info object catalog for characteristics. So here you can select, so for which info objects you want to create this info object catalog. So whether it is for characteristics, or it is for key figure. So I want this info object catalog for characteristics. So I'll select char, then click on create. So here we have info object catalog for characteristics. And if you see the version, or if you see the object status, it's in inactive, not executable. So we have to activate this to make it active. So I'll click on active. So you can see this stick symbol, right? So if you click here, it will get activate, and we'll also get status here, status message, object IOC char has been successfully activated. And if you have any errors, you will not get this green button here, you will get a red button. So as we have got a green button, that means this particular info object catalog has been successfully activated. Then you can click on this green back button to come back. Then I'm going to create another info object catalog for key figures. So I'll put IOC key. Okay, so info object catalog for key figures, and I'll select key figure here, then click on create, and I'm going to click on this matchstick to activate that. So now we can see status has changed to active and executable, and we have got green symbol here, which means info object catalog has been successfully activated. So we have these many fields, and for all the fields we are going to create objects. So these are the objects we need, like customer. So all the objects I am going to prefix Z for that, which shows it's a custom object, because we have a lot of delivered content by SAP in BW, which is business content, which starts with 0. So to differentiate a delivered content and custom created content, I am going to prefix all the objects that I am going to create with Z. So I'm going to create all these info objects. The first thing is Z customer. So I'll go here. So those are all characteristics, right? So I'll create under characteristic info object catalog. So I'll right click on our info object catalog for characteristics, then create info object. So I'll give Z customer, then description for that, customer number, then click on OK. So here we'll have a lot of options for info objects, which I'll explain in our regular classes. As this is demo, I'm going to explain about the mandatory things. So we have to select data type for this info object. So I'm going to select character of length how much. So I want 10. So if you are sure that you are going to get lowercase letters also, then you have to select lowercase letter checkbox here. So we'll look at data. Anyhow, it's a number, so we don't need to select that. If we want, we can select. Okay. Then once you give this, then we'll go and activate this. Then click on OK. Click on yes. So anyhow, it has given one warning, which can be ignorable. So we can see we have got, this particular info object has been successfully activated. So now what is our next info object? We need Z customer group. So I am going to name it as Z cust group GRP of character 2. So I'll right click, create info object, Z cust group. I'll give same here, then OK. And here character of length 2. Then I'm going to activate this. It's active. So as we don't have, okay, so now what's the next object? We have customer group 1 and sales district of character 3 and character 6. So I'll create Z cust group 1 So it's of character length 3, then activate this. Okay, again come back. What is the other one? Z sales district. So the length should be 3 to 9. So minimum should be 3, maximum should be 9 characters. So that's why it has given error. So I have moved it, instead of dist I have selected dis. Now it will take that. So this is character of length 6. So it's sales district, right? So here, yes, it's sales district. So now we have to create another one here, sales group. Okay, so we'll go to our BW system. I'll activate this, which is sales district. Okay, now I'll create another one, Z sales group. Okay, of length, how much will take? Sales group, it's of length 3. Let's make it as 5, so that in future if length gets increased it won't be a problem. Of type char. Okay. If object is activated. Now what is the other one? So sales district is done. Then sales office, sales employee. Z sales OFC office. Click on green tick mark. Then I'm going to select character. So what is the length we need? 4. It's 4. So you can see the different data types that supports for characteristic info object. You can either select numeric, character, dates and timestamp. So if you have only date, we can go for dates, DATS timestamp, or if you have date with timestamp, then we can go for TIMS. So I'll activate this. Now it's active. The next one is sales office is done, then sales employee, which is of numeric 8. So Z sales EMP, here we'll select numeric and then 8. I'll activate this. So it's active. Then the next two ones are date from date to. So I'll create date from, which is of data type dates, which stores date, right? So I'll put dates. And then when you select date, by default length will come, because we can see here date format, year, month, date, which will be 8. So by default it will be a length of 8. So we don't need to specify length for that. We can directly activate. So the next one is date 2. So I'll create another info object, Z date 2. I'll copy that, give it as description, then OK. So this is again going to be date and then activate. So for customer we have made additional change. We have selected lowercase. So as we don't have any lowercase for that, if you want to modify any existing object which is in active, you can click on edit, display or change pencil button, which comes to edit mode. Then you can uncheck this. Again, to make these changes apply, you have to activate the object. So this applies for every object. Okay. So if you get any warning, I'll show you. See here, you can see, right, yellow means it's a warning. So warnings we can ignore in BW system. Then it will ask, so you want to activate the object in spite of warnings. Yes, I want to activate because I know that I don't want that setting. So now it's active. So these are the info objects we need to load this data into BW system. So once we have info objects available, the next step, we can go ahead and create our data source. So to create a data source, we have to go to a data sources tab here, where we have our application component. So right click on your application component and create data source. So here we are going to give a data source name as, so we are loading customer data, z customer, from flat file we are loading, right? And it's a master data. I'll give you this. Okay, source system file load. So this is the source system we have created, right? And data type data source. So we have we can load different types of data into BW system. We can load transaction data, we can load master data, we can load hierarchies. So transaction data is going to be the data which have measures, and master data we know, which is going to support to analyze your facts or to analyze your measures. So in master data we'll have two types. One is text, one is attributes. Let's say here I have customer number. See, when I go and show this customer number to my manager, he doesn't understand, because this customer number 1000012 is nothing but my customer name XXX. So if I say customer name XXX, my manager will understand. He doesn't understand these numbers. So these numbers are going to be attributes. So we'll have master data of attributes, which will have only values, and if we load master data text, that loads description for that relevant values. So here we are loading only a values, we are not loading description. So I'm going to select master data attributes. Okay, and then click on tick mark to create the data source. Okay, so here we have to give the description for our data source. So customer, so we have three kinds of description, right? Short description, medium description, long description. So difference is, short description allows only 20 characters length, and whereas medium allows 40 characters length, and long allows 60 characters length. So we have to give description by keeping in mind that the number of characters it is going to allow. So I'll give customer data from, or I'll put cust data from flat file. Here I am going to put customer data from flat file. It's not mandatory. If you want, you can give. So I'm not going to give any long description for this. Okay, then I'll go to extraction. So here we are going to specify here, so from where we are going to load a data. So we can load data from either application server, or we can load data from workstation. So as we have file in our desktop, I'm going to select load text type file from local workstation. Then here we have to select file. Okay, So I can click on this square box here to select the file location. So I can go to my desktop. So this is where I have my file. So this is the file I want to load. Before I open that, I have to close this file. So I'm closing it. Then I'll select this, open. Okay, and we have header rows, right? So I'm going to put one. So first row has to be ignored. Okay, then it's a comma separated file, and these are the signs for that. Now I'll go to proposal, where we can load some example data which shows how it is going to load. So while selecting the file, and once we select file, which file we are going to load to DS, BW, it's always important to select the type of file. So as our file is comma separated file, CSV file, and it's important to select the data separator for that. So as it is comma separated file, the data separator is going to be comma, and the escape sign is single quote. So once we're done with the settings, you can go to proposal, and to see how data looks, you can click on load example data, which fetches data from our flat file. So we can see, right? So this is the data that we have in our file. So once you are okay with the kind of data that we are going to load, we can go to fields, we can copy the changes. So these are the fields that we are getting from file, customer, customer group, customer. So here we have to map these files with fields with info objects we have created. So we have created info object for every field, right? So we have to give those info objects here. We can enter our info object name and press enter. Once you type info object name, you can press enter. So when we when we load proposal data in proposal tab, what system will do is it will take the length which is in flat file, so which is of integer 5. So when you give the info object name and press enter, it will ask whether you want to take info object name properties or properties from flat file. So I want to take properties from my info object. So I'll say copy. So now we can see, right? This is the length of my info object. So now in the same way, I'll enter zcust zrp, which is of customer group, then zcust grp1. If you observe, names has changed here. So this is nothing but technical name of my info object. Then z sales grp, sales group, copy. Then g sales dis, copy. Then g sales ofc, office, copy. And then g sales emp, copy. Z date from, z date to, copy. Once you have given all the info objects name, we can go to preview, read preview data. So before we see preview, we have to activate the data source. So I'm going to activate this. Okay, click on OK. Anyhow, we can ignore warnings. So data source is active, and we can see this is how data looks when we load data from flat file to data source, and this is how we need also. So we are happy with the data source creation. Now our data source is ready. So once we have our data source, we need to have info package to load data from flat file to BW, nothing but to a data source. So we are going to create info package. You can right click on your data source and create info package. So I'll give name as IP, so flat file z customer. So I'm loading data from flat file to customer and save. So this is info package. Here by default we'll get the file name that has been given in data source. So I'll put the same, and I'll act. So once we are done with, we can click on start to pick the data from flat file to BW. So we can see data was requested. To monitor this, we can click here, monitor, so which is already in success. That means it has loaded data successfully, and we can also see the number of records the info package has been loaded. So if I go and see the data here, so how many records we have? In total 17, out of which one is header data. So system has loaded 16 records. So I can say system has loaded data correctly. So now how can I see the data? So to see the data, we can right click on data source and click on manage. So when we click on manage, we can see a request with all the details, like what is the request number, when it has been loaded. To see the data in that request, you can select that and click on this symbol, which is nothing but PSA maintenance. Then select this record and click on OK. Okay. Now when we select this, it is going to show us the records or the data that has been loaded to BW system, so which is loaded to our underlying database. It takes a little bit time to display our data. Generally it should not take this much time. Let me stop this transaction. Let us go in again. Or we can also open our info package, go to monitor. So here we have, right, we can also go directly from here, PSA maintenance, select the number of records, these request number and records. So I've selected that and click on OK. Now we can see, right, we have got the data. So it thinks system was stuck when we executed last time. So this is how the data looks even in our flat file. So the same data has loaded to BW system. Even if you want to edit any particular record, we can edit here. You can select the record and you can click on this symbol, change. Then you can edit the values. Somehow if you have some error a record loaded to your BW system, we can also edit here. Once you edit, you can save it. So this is how we can load data from flat file to a data source in SAP BW system. Thank you for watching our tutorial. Have a good day.